in the building, start clearing out. Sorry, you said there's a bomb? What'd you say? Bomb in the building, start clearing out. Got it.
He received word of the possibility of a secondary device, that is another bomb going off.
Got it. There's a report of a secondary device in this area about I got a secondary device.
Federal agencies that were down there do believe that there was some sort of explosive device somewhere else besides the planes.
You hear that? Keep your eye on that building. It'll be coming down.
The building is about to blow up. Moving back.
All right, guys.
We are walking back. There's a building about to blow up.
I got an eyewitness who said there was an explosion on floor 7-8. 7-8. We just had another explosion. Warren Street because of the secondary explosion. We've got numerous people covered with dust from the secondary explosion. And we got another explosion on the tower, 1013. Down with 2 has had a major explosion and what appears to be a complete collapse surrounding the entire area. Who's involved in the secondary explosion?
Very high, and the lobby looked as though a bomb had exploded there. All the glass was taken out. There were 10-foot by 10-foot marble panels that were once walls. They were loose from the wall of the Trade Center.
I went around by the freight elevator and I could see it was just blown. It was just a giant 30th floor. We hear another explosion.
Dan, you hear smaller secondary explosions going off every 15 or 20 minutes.
He tried to get his men out as quickly as he could, but he said that there was another explosion which took place.
As we were getting our gear on and making our way to the stairway, there was a heavy-duty explosion.
We was in the lobby and the third explosion, the whole lobby collapsed on us.
What was it like? What was it like?
Horrible.
It's like hell. You don't want to know.
The whole building just collapsed on us inside the lobby.
Is that a secondary explosion?
Yes, it was.
That was the...
Yeah, definitely secondary explosion. We was inside waiting to go upstairs, and on our way upstairs, the whole fucking plane blew. And we just collapsed on everybody inside the lobby.
Similar to the first tower coming down, secondary?
I don't know about the first one, but I know the second was terrible. Then there was a third one, too, after that one.
Third explosion after that?
That's right. Everybody was inside the building, waiting to go upstairs. And they just let loose. Everything just let loose inside the building.
So what you tell me is that there was the plane or whatever hit the building, then a secondary explosion.
It was like 3 explosions after that. We came in after the fire. We came when the fire was going on already. We was in the staging area inside the building, waiting to go upstairs. Then they exploded. The whole lobby collapsed on the lobby inside.
And it's just mayhem after that?
Just man, everybody tried to work their way out.
Just trying to help all the brothers get out.
A lot of people trapped inside.
I was sitting in the Brooklyn Navy Yard across from Brooklyn. We watched the first explosion. As we're watching the buildings, I saw a black, very large airplane fly right into the second building. It came out of the south, right in front of our eyes. Just, it was so surreal, like a movie set. Second and third explosions also, right? We were in the building for the third one. It collapsed. It was on this drive here for the other one.
People don't understand. There may be more. Any one of these fucking buildings could blow up. This ain't done yet.
This is on top of this. This couldn't be no worse than this. Couldn't be nothing no more worse than this. You're in the building trying to help people, and it's exploding on the inside the building. So I don't think.
Okay, hold on. You want to call your mother or something?
You gotta get back from here. You know that. You gotta get back.
Just went boom. It was like a bomb went off, and it was like holy hell coming down them stairs. And then when we finally got to the bottom, they were coming out on the mezzanine level there, and another explosion came right from it because everyone went flying.
Like it sounded like gunfire, you know, bang, 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 and then all of a sudden 3 big explosions.
All of a sudden, I looked up, and about 20 stories below, at least that's what it looked like to me, about 75 flights up, below the fire, I saw from the corner, boom, 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 just like 20 straight hits, just went down, and then I just saw the whole building just went, and as the bombs were going, people just started running, and I sat there and watched a few of them explode, and then I just turned around, and I just started running for my life, because at that point,
And then an hour after the first hit here, with the first crash that took place, he said, there was another explosion that took place in one of the towers here.
Sound like some crash.
This happened at about 8:45 this morning while we were on the air. Let's go back to that moment when we were on the air and the first crash took place.
Can I get you out here also?
What the hell was that?
It sounded like a plane crash.
Once the plane hit the top, then that's when the bomb was going off on the first floor.
I think a bomb went off in the lobby first, then a plane hit the building. But then another plane hit the other building. But when I was coming through the doors on the other side of the Trade Center, either they blew the lobby up or something, because it blew the glass out of the doors and knocked us all down. I just feel a little shook up because I got blasted, you know.
The ladies that are with me were in the World Trade Center in the first building and escaped through the lobby, where they report they believe there was a bomb in the lobby.
And even the turnstile was burnt and was sticking up, and they just told us to run.
And as we were coming out, we passed the lobby. There was no lobby. So I believe the bomb hit the lobby first, and a couple of seconds in the first plane hit.
So obviously, according to his theory, he thinks that there were actually devices that were planted in the building. One of the secondary devices he thinks that took place after the initial impact was, he thinks, may have been on the plane that crashed into one of the towers. The second device he speculates, was probably planted in the building. So that's what we have been told by Albert Turry, who is the chief of safety for the New York City Fire Department.
They were having coffee in the World Trade Center when the first plane struck.
And all of a sudden it sounded like, I don't know where the subway is, but it sounded like a subway collision, a bomb, and it was just pounding, boom, 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 and I literally thought the subway had exploded and all the cars pushed the land on top of it. It was just so loud.
We felt it vibrate in the face if we were facing a bomb.
I walked past a subway station, and when after 3 blocks we could finally see, and I saw these people coming out of the subway, and they were worse off than we were. It looked like a bag of cement had just been poured all over them. And I was asking around what happened, because we didn't know, was there a bomb in our building? We were right across the street from a federal building, so I assumed that's what got hit. Mm-hmm. And then the woman from the subway goes, no, the bomb was in the subway. We all thought we were right in the center of the bomb because nobody had an idea what was going on.
As I reached our truck, I watched everyone around me scrambling for cover, uncertain after the second blast what could happen next. And then just as the smoke cleared amidst debris and black soot falling from the sky, what sounded like a sonic boom as the first and then the second tower tumbled.
I was actually in the subway heading towards the World Trade Center right around Franklin Street. And after the first explosion, the subway station started to fill with smoke. The subway cars started to fill with smoke, and the subways actually stopped.
Rick Sanchez has been there throughout this morning for us. Rick, tell us where you are and what the latest is.
Well, I'm in that area, if you're familiar with this area, of where West Broadway and Hudson come together, right at Chambers. That would put us about a block and a half away from the site of where the explosion was. That area has just been evacuated because police have found what they describe as a suspicious device, and they fear that it might be something that could lead to another explosion. Obviously, there's a real sense of caution here on the part of police. I spoke with some police officials moments ago, Chris, and they told me that they have reason to believe that one of the explosions at the World Trade Center, aside from the ones that may have been caused by the impact of the plane with the building, may have been caused by a van that was parked in the building that may have had some type of explosive device in it. So their fear is that there may have been explosive device planted either in the building or in the adjacent area.
They're shooting. They're driving around shooting. They're running. They arrested 2 Iranians. Oh, shit. They're shooting. I'm serious. You should have saw me running.
I told you, did you hear that they caught a bus?
Like
Bucker, a truck?
a van full of bombs, right?
Oh no, somebody said there was a truck that had a picture of the World Trade Center with the plane flying into it. We caught it.
In between 6th and 7th on King Street. All right, 10-4, I'll send the issue in the bomb squad there for Westgate. With a mural painted, airplane diving into New York, blowing up. 2 men got out of the truck, ran away from it. We got those 2 under. That's good. Fucking beat the shit out of them. All right, get in. Alright, listen, you need any further on those 2 guys over there? You alright over there, Kay? We have both suspects under Kay. We have the suspects who drove in the van exploded. We have both of them under Kay. Let's get some help over here. Nah, I'm sending you ESU there. I just want to make sure you and your guys are alright over there, Kay, that's all. What's the location, right? Put them up.
Another tragedy was just barely averted by alert police officers. They confiscated an entire truckload of explosives that was being driven across the George Washington Bridge. The police officers were actually able to follow the truck across the bridge, and I'm told that they were apprehended in the Meadowlands. 2 people are under arrest, again with a truckload of explosives that was supposed to be destined for the George Washington Bridge. Two people are in custody with a truckload of explosives that could have blown up the bridge and blown up any other cars that had been on it. Channel 2 News has learned this exclusively, and we'll be continuing to investigate this story in the next hours to come.
What appears to happen was that at the same time 2 planes hit the building, that the FBI most likely thinks that there was a car or truck packed with explosives underneath the buildings, which also exploded at the same time and brought both of them down.
Now, that's the first time we're hearing that. So 2 planes and explosives that were in the building. Is that correct?
That is the working theory at this point. That is still unconfirmed, but that is what the FBI is going on at this point.
Somebody said that they saw an airliner go into one of those towers. Then, I don't know, an hour later than that, we had that big explosion from much, much lower. I don't know what on earth caused that.
Heard reports of secondary explosions after the aircraft impacted, whether in fact there wasn't something else at the base of the towers that in fact were the coup de grace to bring them to the ground.
I was about 5 blocks away when I heard explosions, 3 thuds, and turned around to see the building we just got out of, antenna tip over and fall in on itself.
We just heard that there was another explosion in the basement or one of the lower levels of the World Trade Center.
I did pass through a couple of parks and on some of the streets, and before, when I reported about an hour ago, there were people at their gas pumps who turned to look at the smoke that was coming from the city, folks stepping out of bodegas and stores to look. Now people are gathering in large groups. In fact, in one corner, I saw a group of people actually holding hands and praying. As I stand on the Manhattan Bridge, which is closed, it is open to pedestrian traffic. Some people are walking across, but there's just no way for them to, as I look at something happen, I can't. Listen, the 4-1 should have taken a couple of companies that they were leaving back to us that were stuck in the tunnel. So that, they might be busy doing that. Check that out, all right?
Hours after the attack, many smaller explosions rumbled through downtown.
Because once the tower fell, you heard boom, 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 boom.
And we heard this boom, boom, boom.
They were planned to take down a building. Boom, 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 boom.
All the way down. So it was like boom, 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 like that.
And then it started to sound like firecrackers. Crack, 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 crack. And we looked up, and the second tower was coming down.
There were numerous secondary explosions taking place in that building. There were continuous explosions.
CNN is now reporting that there was a 3rd explosion at the World Trade Center, probably an explosion from the ground that caused World Trade Center 1 to collapse on top of itself. Again, there was a 3rd explosion. It's unclear what caused it, whether it was a bomb or whether the first plane that crashed into the tower had somehow been booby-trapped with a bomb that was timed to explode later after the crash had occurred. But CNN is reporting that there was a 3rd explosion that caused World Trade Center 1 to collapse within itself and then collapse on other surrounding buildings.
Yeah, hi. I am just about
between 5 and 10 blocks north of the actual site of where those two towers have come down. We're obviously having a bit of trouble right now maintaining our location because we just heard one more explosion. That's about the fourth one we've heard.
I was standing at the corner of Barclay Street and Washington Street, which is about 1 block, and it's in the canyons around the World Trade Center, and it looked like a bomb went off, and a fireball must have shot right up the street because everything on the street was completely devastated. Vehicles were burnt out, windows were blown out. There's just debris from superstructures of buildings everywhere. He turned around and said he saw a police officer walking with him carrying a 9mm pistol, and he asked him what he was doing, and he said that there were people in the area that were planting bombs after the planes had flown into the tower, that the bombs apparently, and this is just going on what one firefighter told me, police believe that there were bombers that were in the area after the planes hit the towers planting bombs, and that may have been what caused the further devastation.
The first officer that I did get the information from that was a car bomb looked as though he was an inspector, plain clothes of some sort. He had a radio as well and a cell phone. It was walking right past me down this area, and I walked with him as he was talking on the cell phone. I said, "What was it?" And he said, "Car bomb."
We heard this sound that sounded like a clap of thunder. Turned around, we were shocked to see that the building was, it looked like there was a shock wave ripping through the building, and the windows all busted out, and it was horrifying. And then, about a second later, the bottom floor caves out, and the building followed after that, and we saw the building crash down all the way to the ground.
And the whole time you're hearing boom, 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 boom. So, I think I know an explosion when I hear it. I was real close to Building 7 when it fell down, and running away from that sucked. That's one of the things that I live with all the time, and I don't know, but that didn't sound like just a building falling down to me while I was running away from it. There's a lot of eyewitness testimony down there hearing explosions. I didn't see any reason for that building to fall down the way it did.
There was a whole lot of commotion. The firefighters were picking up, and they were starting to roll out and go follow these buses that went downtown. And
yeah, okay, I'll go away. It's chaos.
the Red Cross rep was like, he goes over and he says, well, you got to stay behind this line because they're thinking about bringing the building down. They didn't say what building, they just said bringing a building down.
Where they're running? No, they're going to move in. It's probably going to collapse. That's why I don't want anybody over there.
Is any of it still standing?
All right, guys, got to move back. I hear you. Everybody back. Let's go. Back up.
The building across the street's going to fall down now. Wow. It's not that big, though. It's a smaller building.
So we're like, okay, we'll take their word for it. We'll stay behind the line. And he went over and he talked to one of the, through all the commotion, he goes over and he asked one of the Red Cross, or one of the firefighters, what was going on. I guess, I don't know if he got an answer or not. He came back over with his hand over the radio, and it sounded like a countdown. And And at the last few seconds, he took his hand off, and you heard 3, 2, 1, and he was just saying, "Just run for your life, just run for your life." And then it was like another 2, 3 seconds, you heard explosions, like boom. It's like a distinct sound. It's not like when in compression, like boom, 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 like floors that were dropping and collapsing. This was boom, and like you felt a rumble in the ground, like almost like you wanted to grab onto something.
Regarding the exact time, I don't really remember what time we decided to quit. Right now. Gotta get back from here.
That, to me, I knew that was an explosion. There was no doubt in my mind. And by that time, we're running out into the street. Half the people had taken off.
Oh, that's the mayor's emergency center.
The crowd responds almost immediately as the building starts to fall. This occurs just after the reporter says, "This is it."
This is it. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Therefore, the blasts we heard occurred seconds before the building started to fall. When Ashliegh Banfield says, "This is it," it is because she has been previously told to expect Building 7 to come down.
The brown building, the tall one, is number 7 World Trade Center. I've heard several reports from several different officers now that that is the building that is going to go down next.
Back in the studio, the anchor, Brian Williams, not only had foreknowledge of the collapse, he had a ready explanation.
What we've been fearing all afternoon has apparently happened. We were watching number 7 World Trade, which was part of the ancillary damage of the explosion and collapse of the other 2.
Just as Ashliegh Banfield was told, Brian Williams was told. There is indeed evidence that even the top fire officials were told.
We are on the phone with New York Fire Department Lieutenant David Restuccio. Lieutenant, where are you right now?
I'm at the corner of Northmore Street and Greenwich Street.
Can you confirm it was number 7 that just went in?
Yes, sir.
And you guys knew this was coming all day?
We had heard reports that the building was unstable and that it eventually would either come down on its own or it would be taken down.
Those in control of the story were planting the official narrative in our psyches in real time as events unfolded, using the press and even the fire and police departments as their unwitting agents.
We are getting information now that one of the other buildings, Building 7 in the World Trade Center complex, is on fire and has either collapsed or is collapsing. And clearly those fires continue to burn at about 4:15 Eastern Daylight Time.
Building number 7 was going to collapse. That appears to be what has happened now.
One of those smaller buildings just fall to the ground. We had heard earlier that it was structurally unsafe.
We're getting word from New York right now that another building has collapsed. I understand that this is a 47-story building.
Information, of course, take a look at that right-hand side of the screen.
It's going down right now.
There it is.
Yep.
It went down right there. This is not from an explosion or an aircraft at this point, from our knowledge. The information that we have is that this is a building that probably was incredibly structurally damaged.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. And I said, you know, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
Silverstein also appeared to know that Building 7 would need replacing at least 17 months in advance of its collapse in 2001. In a recorded presentation given in Israel, he slipped up by revealing that the first design meeting for the reconstruction of Building 7 was actually in April of 2000.
And so, next thing you know, we've got the designs of a building. And the first design meeting was in April of 2000. And construction began
Shortly thereafter, in 2002.
BuzzFeed dug up an old quote from Donald Trump talking about a large-scale terror attack 19 months before 9/11. In his 2000 book, The America We Deserve, Trump wrote, "I really am convinced we're in danger of the sort of terrorist attacks that will make the bombing of the 1993 Trade Center look like little kids playing with firecrackers." Trump also mentioned the mastermind of the attack, writing, quote, "One day, we're told that a shadowy figure with no fixed address named Osama bin Laden is public enemy number one, and U.S. jet fighters lay waste to his camp in Afghanistan. He escapes back under some rock, and a few news cycles later, it's on to a new enemy and a new crisis."
The alliance between Israel and America has always been extremely strong. It's about to get even stronger. President Trump and I see eye to eye on the dangers emanating from the region, but also on the opportunities.
Both Netanyahu and Trump wrote books about 9/11 well before it happened, and that Osama bin Laden was responsible. Interesting.
It looks like a ghost town. There are federal agents with guns standing outside the federal buildings, clearing people out. The only thing left in the street are people's shoes as they ran out of their shoes to escape the firebombs and the explosion.
Well,
niggas broke into buildings, they got fucked.
Well, here's what I don't get is how our CIA and our FBI had no clue.
That's because it's an inside job.
Building number 7 was going to collapse. That appears to be what has happened now. I don't know exactly how many stories the building is, Dan, but standing at the base of it, watching it burn about an hour ago, it looked to be something on the order of 50, 60 stories, as you said, a very, very large office building.
It was an abrupt, total, and complete collapse at the speed of free fall.
In fact, you were just told by police that you should move out of your apartment, Fabiana. Yes. You've got Carolina here?
Yes. They advised us to leave because we have...
Oh, my God. Look behind us. Please pan in this way. Please be careful of your baby. This is it.
That's the building coming down.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. No. No. Listen. We'll be all right. We'll be all right.
We're okay. I think we're okay. Ashley, I think we're okay.
Truth Action points to World Trade Center building number 7 that was behind the Twin Towers and how it went down that day.
Building 7 ablaze at the moment and apparently getting ready to collapse.
I'm just confused about one thing and one thing only. Why World Trade Center 7 went down in the first place. I'm very confused about that. I know what I heard. I heard explosions. I heard the explosions. And then the key thing was when the police officer came to me, he said, "We got reports of more explosions, so you have to run." Big talk.
And that's after both towers have fell, correct?
Yes, yes. Okay. I'm still in the building when both of them came down.
You're still in the building. Are you trapped on the 6th floor when the buildings came down?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So it's safe to say that that explosion on the 6th floor happened before either tower fell?
It definitely happened before either tower fell, and I'll tell you why.
Barry, I'm sorry. Can you just wait for that chopper?
Sure.
Because this is vital. Because the whole official story, the whole reason that Building 7 collapsed, allegedly, is because the North Tower fell onto it and caused damage. And what people are going to say is they're going to say, well, Barry was hit by debris from the North Tower.
No. What happened was when we made it back to the 8th floor, as I told you earlier,
yes,
both buildings were still standing because I looked one way, looked the other way, now there's nothing there. When I got to the 6th floor, before all this happened, when I got to the 6th floor, there was an explosion. That's what forced us back to the 8th floor.
Okay.
Both buildings were still standing. Keep in mind, I told you the fire department came and ran. They came twice. Why? Because building Tower 1 fell, then Tower 2 fell. And then when they came back with all concern now, like, to get me the hell out of there. And they did. When I got home, I sat down in front of the TV and my wife said, "Why do you keep watching this? Why do you keep?" I couldn't stop watching it. And that's when I found out Building 7 came down. I was so surprised. And I'm saying to myself, why did that building come down? And I knew why it came down, because of the explosions. and it was not no fuel oil tanks.
It's amazing.
Amazing, incredible, pick your word. For the third time today, it's reminiscent of those pictures we've all seen too much on television before, when a building was deliberately destroyed by well-placed dynamite to knock it down.